Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's Pause with Elizabeth Elenor, and today we're going to talk about when it's time to leave, right? When is it time to leave? When is it time to leave in all sorts of scenarios? So I'd love for you to put hashtag reflect into the comments to let me know that you're sitting with me and you're going to share and reflect on your relationships and what's your boundaries. What do you like and you support in your life, and what is it that you're putting up with that actually isn't serving you, right? Now, it's a really big question, right? Because some of you may have seen a post that I did where I actually had to say no to, it was just a text message, right? So I had a person that I know, an acquaintance, and she'd had an altercation with some other woman, another person that I know. And in that process, she decided a whole heap of stuff and went into a bit of a victim mode, and it got nothing to do with me. Really wasn't my story, my journey. And I had seen this behavior with this woman before. So I personally am in a place where I'm really being careful of my vibration and where I, how I get supported and what I do in that support, and how I support myself, how I nourish myself, how I self-soothe, and the beliefs and emotions as I'm moving and shifting in my reality, right? And that means having to put a boundary on what I'm listening to and who I'm having in my life. And so this was just one of those moments, right? Good morning, Ruth. It's just one of those moments where I knew that this particular person was not open to looking at the growth that this particular process could have taken her through. She just wanted to vent. She just wanted to be validated. And I'd been there before, and I'd validated her before in other instances. But in this situation, I was like, no, I don't want to validate her. I know the situation. I really am aware that it was actually, very, lots of integrity from the other person that was involved. And I didn't want to be in the middle. And I didn't want to be one of these people that listened and got smashed by someone because they wanted their feelings validated, whether you believed in it or not, right? And so I've been holding my own space lately. I've been looking at what is appropriate in my life and what is something that I need to recognize is pulling me down in my life, right? What is pulling you down in your life? And so there's a whole heap of stuff that comes up with that, right? What are your beliefs about yourself and who you are, and how that is merging with the whole relationship, like, are you needing validation from other people as well? Good morning, Kaz. Are you looking for self-assurance outside of yourself? Are you being fed by some of your triggers with this other person, whoever it is in your relationships, that are pulling you down and causing you to really not be in your highest self, in your highest frequency, in your wisdom, in your intuition? Because right now, it's always been like this, but right now there's a time and a space where we are being called to step up. We're being called to live those higher frequencies and to really recognize ourselves as wild women that are here to support our community, to be in this space of ownership and self-sovereignty. And so now is a time. Is there things in your life that you've been allowing to drag you down because you're staying stuck in old patterns of behavior instead of shifting those so that you can then clear that, and it will elevate you into those higher frequencies, right? Where you can create your reality the way you know it should be, but with the love, the respect, the support, the connection, the compassion, the understanding, all of those things that high vibrational relationships bring in is where we're all heading, right? So where are you? I'm going to ask you again, for those that just jumped on, let's put #reflect on the comments and just get you to really reflect. Where are you in your relationships? Not just with your intimate partner, if you've got one, not with your family, but with your friends, with acquaintances, with people on social media. All of these things, all of these little tiny threads that can be actually causing you to be in old frequencies, and very subtle. They can be holding you back and actually validating you're not good enough. You're imperfect. You're not capable, right? All of those things can be validated by some of these energies that we're holding on to those, so that we stay in the uncomfortableness of the comfort zone, because it's really uncomfortable in there. But because we don't know the unknown, we stay in the comfort zone, right? However, in the unknown is where all the shifts happen, where all the transformation happens, where all the growth happens. And so, really looking at my own boundaries and, what I used to put up with or allow in my life because I just didn't feel good enough to stand up for myself and speak my truth, has been a long process to actually come to a place where I feel like I'm an empowered woman, a wild woman, a woman that is living in her own beautiful place of making her own decisions from her own internal guidance system, not because I'm connecting and asking for influence outside of myself, right? And so these are all the things that we do in Conscious Creator. We really pull this apart and look at what's our connection, with other objects as well, like things that can be causing you to have emotional ties, like situations and money and status, and all of these things can actually cause you to be in a place of being influenced by external sources. So what is it that you're doing in your life that's causing you to be in your dysfunction, right? What relationships? If you feel that feeling of, oh my gosh, here we go again, or of doubt, or having to listen to somebody when there's no reciprocal energy, right? You might have, who's got one of those friends that rings up and vomits all over you, and then when it's time for you to go, I really need someone to talk to, they're not there, right? They're busy, or they've got to go because they've got to deal with something, right? There's a lot of selfishness out there in the world, right? There's a lot of narcissistic behavior. Not necessarily narcissists, but a lot of narcissistic behavior out there, because the way we have evolved is to be, trying to validate our own dysfunction by being distracted by life, and it's all about me, right? Now, that's very different. There's a difference between that living in the dysfunction and having to be validated by self and others, to actually being selfish where you're internally guided by your own intuition and your wisdom, and you're looking at what serves you and what limits you, and you're constantly in this, this beautiful path of personal growth and elevating your life, your business, your relationships, like really coming into your own and becoming that beautiful self-sovereign being. There's a very big difference, right? One of them is very chaotic, and one of them is self-centered. That's the word I was looking for. One of them is self-centered, and it's all about me, and the other one is selfish. But when you're in your selfishness, where everything is about you, there's a beautiful expansion, because you recognize that relationship is where all of the personal growth comes from. And you have a lot more compassion for others, for when they're in, situations that they're unconsciously creating for themselves, or they're in old patterns of behavior, and you can see it, right? And you have compassion and empathy for that person, and you're there to support them if they're willing to grow and support themselves, right? So there's a very big difference between all of the dysfunction and the chaos of pulling and taking everyone's power so that you feel powerful in whatever your situation is, and being empowered where there's this beautiful dance between you and your environment and your world. And that takes a bit of work, right? It takes a little bit of work to get out of that dysfunction and moving into empowerment. And it's something that myself and my clients do on a regular basis, is to look at what's serving and what's limiting in a situation. We clear it with, beautiful techniques that are easy and quick to make that shift for people. Collapse time is really awesome to be in this beautiful place in consciousness, where some of those old techniques, they work, but they take a lot of time, right? And now where we are in consciousness, there's this recognition of how to move into some of those old ancient wisdom of alchemy, and being able to shift and how to create, but also being able to really connect in with that higher realm where all of those codes came from in the first place, and clear them from the origin of where they came from. Super fast, super easy, collapses time. This is where the world's going if you're open to receive it, because when you're in that lane, it's just this beautiful flow, right? When you're out of that lane and you're having to look at your beliefs one at a time, it just takes a long time. Or then you're in the completely stuck, where you're in unconscious and you've got these patterns just controlling you in your world, right? So I'd love for you to reflect. Where are you at with your relationships? What are you actually allowing that you don't like? And you know in your heart that there's things that you don't appreciate in relationships. And have you spoken your truth about it, right? Have you actually expressed, hey, this is not what I'd love in my life. I'm here to support you, but let's not do it in this way. Let's do it in a way where it's a more healthy boundaries, where you're not dumping all your stuff onto me, but we're looking for a solution, because we're solution orientated, right? So have a think. Maybe even do a bit of an audit. What's going on in your world? How many people are in your world that are holding you back from really shining your light and really living in conscious relationships, so that you're elevating as well as the other person, and the wholesomeness of that is really fulfilling. I've got so many beautiful relationships that are like that, where we're there for each other in our darkest moments, and we're there in our brightest successes and celebrate together each other. So that's what it's like when you are living in beautiful relationships where they're lifting you up, right? Is when you can be celebrated by someone, even when they're having a dark moment, they're really, really happy for you. That's when you know that you're in a conscious relationship. So love to hear your thoughts. Love to hear what you find, any reflections that you may have had, what you found valuable about what we're talking about. And have a think about it all week, because I'm actually on a bit of a roll. I noticed that there was a lot of interaction with my posts around this. And so watch out, because I'm actually going to do, I've got a 5-day container that I'm putting together around this, because if you're not able to look at what's going on internally for yourself, then you'll find that you won't be able to appreciate and take action to step into a different place and to hold your boundaries, right? So if you're interested, I'm still playing with it. If you're interested in or curious, maybe put curious in the post in the comments. If you're interested in finding out a little bit more, you'll see it, jumping around here in the next week maybe. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll catch you soon. See ya.